I now give the floor to the representative of Armenia.
Thank you, Madam President, for convening this debate, which serves as an opportunity to examine the conceptual issue of rule of law, a concept that is at the very heart of the stated mission of the United Nations. In recent years, the international community has increased its efforts to address the rule of law in conflict and post-conflict situations. A consensus emerged that the rule of law should be promoted at both national and international levels and should be based on the United Nations Charter, the norms of international law, and the principles of good governance. Madam President, we also trust that increased efforts to fight impunity at the national level and international levels are essential. It is commendable that the Council continues to focus on the responsibility of states to end the impunity and thoroughly investigate and prosecute persons responsible for grave violations of international humanitarian law to avoid their recurrence and seek justice and peace. Armenia attaches utmost importance to the promotion of justice and the rule of law, as these values are indispensable for the maintenance of international and regional security and the protection of human rights. Moreover, the systematic breaches of the rule of law contribute to violations of these basic human rights and fundamental freedoms, including that of people's rights to self-determination, which are among the major and immediate causes of regional conflicts. As the Secretary General rightly pointed out in his previous reports, the prevalence of impunity in many states that have experienced conflict allows serious human rights violations to thrive, damages the fabric of societies, and prevents the development of lasting resolution to conflict. Madam President, we continue to remain extremely alarmed by the fact that since 2004, the heinous crime of the officer of Azerbaijani army, Ramil Safarov, who had slaughtered with an axe an Armenian officer in his sleep during the NATO-sponsored program in Budapest, simply because he was an Armenian, continues to receive a public praise at the official level and these days also on a society level in the neighboring country. Today, the murderer Safarov is being cited as an example of patriotism for the Azerbaijani youth by the government officials, which proves that Azerbaijani side continues its reckless behavior of spreading further hate propaganda against Armenia and Armenians worldwide. Azerbaijan has opened the door for the recurrence of such crimes. Further murderers hereafter are well aware of impunity that they can enjoy for the murder driven by ethnic or religious hatred. Madam President, this is yet another fact that reveals the absence and disrespect of rule of law, the very concept of which is diametrically opposite to the culture of rule by force that unfortunately is being cultivated in Azerbaijan these days. This alarming act of the authorities of Azerbaijan not only contradicts to the humanitarian purposes of the international law, but also relevant international instruments and challenges the whole system of human rights. In that context, Armenia aligns herself with the statements made by the previous speakers, recognizing the important role of justice and judiciary and the establishment of peace and security in the conflict and post-conflict situations. Countries affected by conflict have to ensure accountability for the most serious crimes of concern to the international community. Implementing binding resolutions which call upon all states to adopt national legislation for the prosecution of individuals responsible for genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes are of utmost importance. Therefore, enhancing compliance with international legal obligation by parties in a conflict should be viewed as a key element of the Council's responsibility to maintain international peace and security, which will require a deeper commitment and a broader vision of the future. Madam President, let me reiterate Armenia's commitment to the human rights, the rule of law, and democracy, as these values are interlinked and interdependent. We must recommit to this approach and actively stay engaged also on the domestic level by promoting inclusive and accountable political processes. Armenia remains committed to the post-conflict peace initiatives and believes that Council should further advance development initiatives by supporting rule of law institutions and peace-building mechanisms which help the countries emerging from conflicts in their recovery, reintegration, and reconstruction efforts aimed at creating foundations for sustainable peace and development. The successful implementation of this agenda requires a basic level of political will and determination on the part of all players as preconditions for peace building. With these political conditions in place, the ability of the United Nations or any other intergovernmental and bilateral actor will be enhanced and supported. I thank you.